A bit of an odd style of game for the channel today, but let's take a look at As Dusk Falls. The game originally released in 2022 and was published by Xbox Game Studios, but once that exclusivity window ended, the publishing went to Interior Night directly, Interior Night being the developer for the game. It looks like as of this video, Interior Night has only ever developed As Dusk Falls. The company does still exist, and there is a possibility of a sequel game that's been hinted at, but there's nothing official. Alright, so with all the basic details out of the way, let's try to answer, is this one worth it for you? Let's get into it. The game takes place in 1998, with As Dusk Falls being a gritty crime drama. There's a little bit of an introduction, getting to know the people involved, but the game really starts with a robbery gone wrong in a small Arizona town. From there, the story basically just follows the two families involved, the Walkers, who are caught in essentially a hostage situation at a motel, and the Holt brothers, who are, well, they're presented as being pushed into being criminals due to their life and upbringing. The game will actually cover 30 years of time, with flashbacks to see how we arrived at the current situation and exploring how this one afternoon will have ripple effects throughout the future. As far as the mechanics go in this one, it's not going to be playing out like a traditional game. This one's going to be more of an interactive story, or maybe an interactive drama, I guess. It's going to use choice-driven storytelling with branching timelines that are going to be heavily affected by the player choice throughout the game. There's no combat, there's no free movement. Really, the only thing that feels like a classic game is going to be the QTEs or QuickTime events. The vast majority of player interaction is going to be making choices, either dialogue options or choosing to carry out specific actions. Often these choice of dialogue options or actions, they're going to be on a timer, so it does put some pressure on the player to act. As for the QTEs, they're usually going to be done so that the player has some interactivity to their choices. However, there are times when they seem to just pop up suddenly and might catch you off guard. The success or failure to complete the QTE will often result in changes to the storyline. Alright, so the general gameplay loop here is going to begin with watching some kind of scene play out to set the tone of where in the story this section is taking place. The player is then going to need to make some dialogue or action choices and react to the QTEs. You're then often going to see some kind of immediate feedback or consequences to your actions, and then the particular branching choices you made are shown at the end of the chapter. By showing this, it actually allows you a lot of freedom to see what actions specifically led to your own result, and where major splits in the storyline are made. Since the game takes place over a fairly large course of time, choices and events that take place can have far-reaching consequences. The actual immediate consequences for a particular choice could seem quite minor or trivial, but then ripple down the timeline and have much larger effects later on. So my personal recommendation here is just choose whatever you think is good in the moment. Don't stress too hard on your choices. I think it actually leads to a much more interesting story this way. This game is going to be a little bit harder for me to compare to something. I haven't really played a lot of games like this, so I don't have too much that I can say here. Honestly, the game feels more like you're watching some kind of TV drama, which you then get to affect change in by choosing specific choices or making dialogue options. So again, it's very much like an interactive movie or interactive TV show, really. If I did have to pick something similar, I would say games in the Telltale franchise are going to feel a little bit like this one. Those games also play out in the interactive movie style with choices and QTE. However, Telltale usually had a lot more traditional gameplay elements within them as well. Things like walking around, moving your character, and exploring an area. In As Dusk Falls, there's going to be none of that. It literally all plays out and characters go where they go. You just make the choices when you get there. Again, I apologize for not having too much to compare here. I'm not even sure if there's a lot of games exactly like this style out there. The only other thing would be maybe the live action interactive movie style games, but again, by bringing in that live action style, it's going to change up the feel pretty dramatically. If you have any other suggestions, please leave those down in the comments so that other gamers can get an idea of what to expect here. I think that the most unique aspect is the graphic novel style of motion art. The entire game is going to play out with this stylized still frame animation rather than like the franchise that I mentioned earlier, Telltale, and going that route where a player would still control the movement in between the scenes. I feel like both the hands-off approach as well as that still frame animation are pretty unique choices for a video game. Aside from this, the fact that the game takes place over such a long time frame and giving a multi-decade and even a multi-perspective narrative, I personally don't know of any other games that do this. The game actually follows more than one character, more than one family even, and so you get different perspectives and viewpoints on the same situations that played out. It's definitely going to add to that depth of the story being told here. And lastly, as far as unique features, I'm going to go with the branching story tree at the end of chapters. So with this branching story tree that you're shown at the end, you're free to see the options and choices and what ultimately led to the conclusion that you got. This means that if you are inclined to see different endings or consequences, you could make additional playthroughs and choose options which result in a different scenario being played out. Now, as far as performance goes, I didn't run into any issues whatsoever playing this one. I completed the game with 0 crashes or really anything at all causing any problems. This obviously doesn't mean that you're going to have a flawless experience, but it is definitely possible. Okay, I think this section is where the game really shines. The graphics in the game give a unique style, and the still frame animation style to me really works for what they're going for. I think there is a major caveat here, and basically it's that I think this style isn't going to be for everyone. And really, I'd go so far as to say there's probably a lot of people who are not interested in this style being used in a video game. So basically, if you don't have the patience for this kind of style, then obviously this isn't going to be for you. If you are okay with it, or if you find it interesting, I think the quality here is really quite good. As always though, just use the gameplay footage to decide for yourself. Now, as far as sound and dialogue, as with the graphics, I think the quality is really quite good, and the voice actors are great in my opinion. In this style of game, or any game that follows the interactive movie kind of concept, dialogue, story, and voice acting are what's gonna hold your attention and keep you invested. As I said, in my opinion, I think the quality here is really quite good, especially in terms of actor performances and fairly deep dialogue and storylines. So I'll go ahead and play some examples of the dialogue and sound here so that you can decide for yourself what you think.
Get up.
What? Pa? Are you hurt?
I need you to drive me to the hospital. Get dressed.
Vince was a good kid, but he always did let people walk all over him. When you were small, you asked me to buy you these cheap action figures so you'd have something to give the kids at school when they picked them.
And what was I like in high school, huh?
Please, just leave before someone gets hurt.
No one asked you.
It's my motel. I'll deal with them.
Hey, asshole. You want to throw someone in the back? Why don't you start with me?
I guess you finished the roof then, seeing as you giggling like a bunch of girls.
See for yourself. It's coming along just fine.
What? That's your work?
This is Sheriff Romero of the Two-Rock County Sheriff's Department. But you assholes know that already. The good news is, in Arizona, burglary is a Class 3 felony. You can practically get off with a warning. The bad news is...
So far, I've been trying to keep things mostly objective. I've thrown in an opinion here and there, but I think that's impossible in a review not to do that. That said, up until this point, I've basically just been trying to show you what the game is so that you can decide for yourself if it's something that you're interested in. From here on out, it's simply just my opinions, my experience, how I felt about the game, if I enjoyed it or not. You have a brain, you can decide for yourself if you want to give it a try, so don't use this as me trying to tell you you should buy it or not buy it. This part is all just for fun, and if you disagree with me completely, that's perfectly fine. Different people are going to like different things, and that's why there's so many different options out there. And so with that out of the way, did I enjoy As Dusk Falls and what I recommended to a friend of mine?
To be honest with you, Diane, I'm surprised.
I was surprised here. I expected to be very bored and stop playing this one or force myself through it. Not because I expected this particular game to be poor, but because I've never really had much interest in the completely interactive movie style games. As I said, I was surprised this one was really quite good. Again, I need to be very clear, this is not a traditional style game. There's not going to be any heavy gameplay elements, we've mostly got choices and some QTEs thrown in there. For 99% of it, you're just sitting back and enjoying the story being played out. As far as the story being told here, I thought it was really quite compelling and told in a way that you can connect with the characters involved. I felt like all the characters were humanized really well, and so you can empathize with their own situations. Even if you think the actions that they're taking are the wrong ones, they're all written and portrayed in a way that you can understand their own situation, where they're coming from, and why they're doing what they're doing. There's not going to be any over-the-top comic book villains or anything like that. These all feel like real people. And continuing with that, I just feel like the game is very grounded in reality. There's very little that you need to suspend disbelief for. I think this is something that adds to its ability to draw you in and keep you engaged. It's a very human story playing out here. Even if there's some dramatic events that unfold, you can reasonably see the logical flow of events that led from one thing to another. I also felt like it was quite satisfying having the long timeline played out. The actions and choices that you make seem to ripple and carry through the story, and you can see how this series of choices that you made ended up resulting in the future that is played out. As for my recommendation, this really depends on you, as always. The most important question here, do you have the patience for an interactive movie? Or do you need fast-paced action and gameplay? If you need the heavy gameplay and you are interested in this, well, I'm sorry, this does not have it. This is a story being told, a drama playing out. It's a slow burn. I would personally say that the story is worth it, and I really enjoyed the ride it took me on. But this is going to feel way too casual if you're a hardcore gamer. So just keep that in mind if you're considering picking this one up. I do think it's a good one if you're just winding down and don't need to be super stimulated. You just want something to kind of ease you down at the end of the day or something like that. You're going to have some tense moments in this one, but there's nothing here that's going to put you into that sweaty gamer state, so don't worry. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed this look at As Dusk Falls. Have you already played through this game? Please let me know down in the comments what you thought and if you agree or disagree with my own opinions. If the video was helpful or entertaining, please give it a like and also consider subscribing to the channel. There's a bunch of other reviews, but I've also got retrospectives for older games, walkthroughs, strategies, and even some gaming news and updates that I'm covering now. So I'd love to see you join the community and help direct the future of the channel by letting me know what you want to see more of. With all that said, thank you so much for taking the time to watch today, and until next time, take care.
Everything okay?
Oh, yeah, I just had the strangest dream. I was back in the lawyer's office.
A dream? At this time of day?
While I was packing, like dreaming about our new life in Missouri.
As long as everything's boxed up and in good shape for the landlord. I know this move is a big step and tons of stress, but I've got a really good vibe about it, Vince. We'll be back by 7. I'm just gonna pick up Chinese. Zoe! Sorry, gotta go.
Sure, okay, but... I can't believe I fell asleep. All right, big man. You got until 7 to get this apartment ship shape and ready to go. Where do you want to start?